There are fears that Russia is about to invade Ukraine. I'm Neil, and this is News Review from BBC Learning English. Joining me today is Roy. Hello, Roy.
Hello, Neil, and hello, everybody. If you would like to test yourself on the vocabulary around this story, all you need to do is head to our website, bbclearningenglish.com, to take a quiz. But now let's hear more about this story from this BBC News report.
Germany has become the latest Western nation to publicly warn that a Russian invasion of Ukraine may be imminent, with the Vice-Chancellor Robert Habeck saying Europe could be on the verge of war. Germany also stressed the unity of the countries, warning Moscow against military intervention.
So, several countries have now said that a Russian invasion of Ukraine could happen at any time. This follows several countries advising their citizens to leave Ukraine and the evacuation of some embassies.
Now, you've been looking at the various news websites at this story. You've picked out some vocabulary that's useful for understanding the story. What have you got?
We have full-blown, chillingly silent, and false flag.
Full-blown, chillingly silent, and false flag. So let's have a look at your first headline, please, Roy.
Okay, so our first headline comes from The Express, and it reads, Russia versus Ukraine in charts and numbers. How a full-blown conflict could play out.
Full-blown, fully developed.
Okay, so this is full-blown. First word, F-U-L-L. Second word, blown, B-L-O-W-N. There is a hyphen in the middle, and it is being used as an adjective. And what it means is something that is fully developed or fully formed.
Yeah, okay. But as you said there, it's a sort of set expression, full-blown, not fully blown like you might think, but full-blown. So what's the feeling of this piece of vocabulary? Why do we use it?
Okay, so in the terms of the headline, what we're using it as, it says full-blown conflict. And what it means is it's not just a small attack, not something minor. This is a fully realised attack, a fully realised war. Full-blown basically means fully developed.
Yeah, and it's a useful little set expression, isn't it?
It is, because we can use it outside of the context of war, obviously. For example, two colleagues in the office, they may start having some kind of minor disagreement, like saying, no, that was you, no, that was you. And before long, it becomes a bigger fight. And we can say that it developed into a full-blown argument.
Yeah, so as your example showed there, we can use it for something as significant and worrying as a war. But we can also use it to describe a dispute or an argument between two people.
Absolutely. Now, what is interesting, we can also use it to talk about the pandemic. We used it quite often to talk about the pandemic, another very serious thing. So at first, we started talking about an outbreak, a small outbreak, and before long, it became a full-blown pandemic.
Yeah, and I guess that's the sense contained in this expression, that something that was small becomes something which is enormous.
Yes. Now, interestingly to say, we've used mainly negative meanings of full-blown here, but you can also use it not negatively. However, we do commonly use it negatively because we can sort of exaggerate the severity or the drama of something, so to really emphasize how big something is, that it is at its limit. But in a positive note, you could say, oh, I invited a few friends over for a couple of drinks and a chat, and before long, lots of other people arrived and it became a full-blown party.
Okay, well, let's get a summary. If you're interested in stories about international relations, we have a video about companies versus countries in a legal sense. What do our viewers have to do, Roy?
All you need to do is click the link in the description below.
Let's have a look at your second headline.
Okay, so our second headline comes from The Independent, and it reads, Australia evacuates embassy in Kiev and calls on China to not remain chillingly silent.
Chillingly silent. Frighteningly quiet.
So this is a two-word expression. First word, chillingly. Chillingly. Second word, silent. Silent. Now, silent, of course, means quiet or no noise. And chillingly means unsettling. It makes you feel uncomfortable or scary.
Now, Roy, I thought that something that was chilling was cold, physically cold. You know, that word chilly means cold. So what's the connection between silence and temperature?
Yeah, okay, so there is an idea of chill being cold. So, for example, you could say there is a chill in the air if the day is very cold, or it's chilly today. Or, for example, like for that full-blown party, you could put some drinks in the fridge to chill them, to make them feel cold. But in this sense, chillingly, it means frighteningly or scarily, or it makes you feel uncomfortable.
Yes, because being cold is an uncomfortable experience, but it is connected here figuratively to feeling kind of scared.
Yeah, so for example, you could say that a horror film is chilling if it's very, very scary. Or if somebody tells you a story that makes you feel very uncomfortable or scared or frightening, we can say that that story is a chilling story.
Yeah, and so the sense in the headline here is that the silence from China is worrying.
Yes. And interestingly, we do have another expression, don't we, related to this, about your spine, Neil.
Yes, that's right. If something is really scary, we can say it sends a chill down your spine. Or a shiver. A shiver is something that you do when you are cold. So we can see that metaphorically, figuratively, cold is connected to fear.
Yeah, very much so. So yeah, if something's very scary, sends a shiver down my spine.
Okay, let's get a summary. Talking of silence, we have a lesson on the silent E that you will find sometimes in English words. Where can our viewers find it, Roy?
All you need to do is click the link in the description below.
Okay, let's have a look at our next headline.
Okay, so our next headline comes from The Eye, and it reads, Russia invasion of Ukraine imminent. Minister warns as Moscow plots false flag attack to provoke war.
False flag, invented excuse for an attack.
Yes, so this is a two-word expression. The first word, false, F-A-L-S-E. Second word, flag, F-L-A-G. And it's basically saying an invented excuse or a created reason for some kind of action or attack.
Yeah, okay, and if we break it down, we've got the word false, which obviously means not real, and flag. Flag is a material banner that is used to indicate a country, for example. So together, what's the meaning here?
The origins of this expression are not 100% clear, but it relates strongly to deception. Now, what a number of countries and media outlets are saying is that Russia will create a reason to justify an attack, basically saying that Russia will create an excuse to invade Ukraine, and that's according to some of the speculation in the media.
Yeah, okay, so it's, in a sense, it's kind of false labelling, isn't it?
Yes, that's exactly it. Now, we don't only use it in the terms and context of war. We can also use it sometimes in politics. Now, if somebody is running for office and they're going for a political position, you can sometimes say that they're running under a false flag of policies. So if they say, for example, that they believe heavily in environmental issues, but really they don't, they have a secondary agenda, they're running under a false flag.
Yeah, and that's related but slightly different to the meaning that we're talking about here in this headline. That is about deceiving people again, but it's not about provoking an attack.
Mainly we don't use this outside of the context of war and politics. That's one thing to say. So, for example, You wouldn't say in the office, oh, my boss was running under a false flag or something like this. It's very, very strange. You may say that my boss hid their true intentions. So mainly we talk about false flags related to conflict, war, or politics.
Okay, let's get a summary. Time now, Roy, for a recap of the vocabulary, please.
Yes, we had full-blown, fully developed. We had chillingly silent, frighteningly quiet. And we had false flag, invented excuse for an attack.
If you want to test yourself on the vocabulary, there's a quiz on our website at bbclearningenglish.com, and we are all over social media as well. Thanks for joining us, and goodbye.
Bye!